Hello, world! Live from Niagara Falls, it's Mr. Flickster Show on Saturday night. In tonight's episode, I'm going to do my spoiler-free review of The Wolfman, and we're going to talk about some other Blumhouse horror movies too. I'm so excited. Let's talk horror movies, shall we? Thank you for clicking on my video. Hello, world! I'm Chris Maitini, aka Mr. Flickster. Mr. Flickster. And we're back. So, before we get to our main topic, I just want to do a little follow-up on last week's episode. Last week, I reviewed the Minecraft movie in case you missed it, so that's available on my channel. If you want to watch it, you can watch the replay. But I just want to talk a little bit about the box office. So I'm just going to try to share my screen. Let's see if this works. Whoa, that's weird. Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen, and now I'm going to try to... Okay. Hold on, let's do a new tab. Box Office Mojo. Because it made, I want to get the official number. It made quite a bit of money, but I don't want to misquote it or anything like that. So let's just pull this up. Yeah, last weekend it made $162.8 million. So, yeah, it looks like this could make possibly, if it goes like, if it doesn't decrease, this could make $1 billion, because that's already made more money than what the Mario movie did over the weekend, like its opening weekend. So it's pretty exciting to see that so many people went out to see it. And I heard people got really rowdy too in the theaters. There's been a lot of YouTube videos and TikTok videos about people being pulled out of theaters, people being warned. Movie theaters were stopping the movie so people can get kicked out. It was just, oh, I can't believe all the chaos because of this. So if you want to follow up on that yourself, you can find that on TikTok and YouTube. So I just wanted to touch up on Minecraft real quick. So now, let's get to the main event, shall we? Right. I think this is working. Let's go full screen this time. Oh, I see. Yeah, you can see me, right? Cool. Hopefully people can still see me. Let's try Letterboxd again. All right. So let's find The Wolfman. This movie came out in January. I have the date here. Did that not work? Am I not on now? Can you see me? Is this not working? Okay, in case that didn't work, I wanted to follow up on the Minecraft movie, and it made over $162 million at the box office its opening weekend. So I'm curious to see what it does this weekend, because that was more money than it made on the Mario movie for its opening weekend. So I'm curious to see how much money it makes, because it could make over $1 billion at this rate. I mean, think about it. It even made more than what Inside Out 2 made for its opening weekend. So that's pretty exciting for Minecraft fans. I'm glad everybody went out to the theater and went to go see it. All right, so let's get to the main event, shall we? Because I'm not sure if the screen sharing is working. Possibly. Okay, sorry, I'm just pulling up my notes. And we'll talk about the Wolfman. I just forgot my banner. I just noticed it wasn't there. So let's just put that up real quick. Blumhouse movies. What's the best and worst? Okay, and show. There we go. And we're back. We seem to be having some technical difficulties. It says here that I'm going live, but I'm not sure. It says somebody's watching, so if you can comment to let me know if you can see and hear me, that'd be great. Whoever's out there watching me, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm just going to go on with the show. So, The Wolfman. Actually, a little bit about Blumhouse first. Because after I do my spoiler-free review of The Wolfman, I'm going to talk about some of the best and the worst Blumhouse movies. The horror movies, more specifically, because they talk about a lot of different... No, sorry, they don't talk. They release a lot of different movies. I'm just focusing on the horror. There we go. So Blumhouse Productions has been responsible for more than $6 billion of global box office earnings over the past 2 decades. So far this year, we've had 3 flicks from them. The Wolfman came out on January 17th. We had The Woman in the Yard, which came out on March 28th. And this weekend was the new release of Drop. So I'm curious to see how these movies do this year. But not only that, just wait, there's more. Okay, I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure if people can see or hear me. So let's just end the stream and try again. Does that work? Oh yeah, let's just leave the studio. Oh no, let's not do that. Okay. Okay, it says that I'm live. Okay. So if you can see me and you can hear me, if you could let me know in the comments, that'd be great. That's the problem with live TV. You get technical difficulties sometimes. Okay. Okay, you can see and hear me. Okay, great. So I'm just going to start over and then we'll start from the top because I'm not sure if all that stuff from before got live or not. So, hello, world. Tonight we're going to talk about the Kal-El Daily. Oh, hey, Kal-El Daily. And hi, Sabrina. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. So, tonight is going to be the spoiler-free review of The Wolfman from 2025. And then, after that, I'm going to talk about the best and worst Blumhouse movies. So, I saw the movie yesterday. I have my notes here. I've had some time to think about it. Here they are. But I just want to talk a little bit about Blumhouse Productions first. Over the past 2 decades, they've grossed over $6 billion in the box office. And their the highest grossing franchise that they have is the Insidious movies. So far this year, we've had 3 Blumhouse movies. There's been The Wolfman in January 17th. Then we had The Woman in the Yard, which came out on March 28th. And then this weekend was the release of Drop. So I wasn't able to make it out to the theater, but what I was able to do was I was able to rent The Wolfman on demand on VOD. So it's only $6 on Amazon if you want to rent it. Hi, Sabrina. Welcome back. Thank you for joining. Okay. Thank you, Deborah. You can hear me too. I'm just going to try to share my screen again. I've been tinkering with StreamYard. So let's see if this works. Okay, can you guys still see me? That was kind of funky. I'm going to try and change that. All right, here we go. Okay, hopefully you can still see me. I'll give it a moment and I'll come back. I'm not sure if that worked or not. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that. No, Sabrina, you haven't seen Woman in the Yard. No, that just came out in March, and we haven't been able to go see that one yet either. So that's why I rented The Wolfman instead. That kind of sort of make up for that. It's still a pretty recent movie. Oh, sorry. There we go. All right. So, on top of the 3 movies that have already come out this year from Blumhouse, we have 4 more movies on the way. We have Megan 2, which is going to come out on June 27th. Then we have Insidious 6, which has a confirmed release date of August 29th. And then we have Black Phone 2, which is supposed to come out October 17th. And then finally, we have Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which comes out on December 5th. So I thought it was a good time to talk about Blumhouse. So let's talk about The Wolfman, shall we? Okay, so here's the synopsis according to IMDb. A family at a remote farmhouse is attacked by an unseen animal. But as the night stretches on, the father begins to transform into something unrecognizable. It was directed by Lee Winnell. I like the cinematography because it does this thing where it shifts from a regular person's perspective into a werewolf's perspective, and you have heightened senses. And the way that the lighting and the colors change is really cool. It's pretty seamless too. It'll be one way, and then all of a sudden the camera will turn, and it'll all just do this kind of transformation, and you can see everything from the werewolf's perspective. It's unlike anything that I've seen in werewolf movies before. But don't get me wrong, this is a very untraditional werewolf movie. Yeah, I'm not too sure about The Woman in the Yard, Sabrina. To me, it looks kind of generic, but I'll give it a chance. I'm not sure. I got a feeling it's going to be over reliant on jump scares too. I hate that in horror movies. But anyways, and then there's moments too. Well, there's a lot of fun camera work in this movie. There's moments too where the guy will like kind of tilt over to the side, but the camera tilts with him. And then as he falls to the ground, the camera will fall with him. Like there's one point where he hunches over and the camera goes down, but then he rises back up again and the camera goes up. But it's not jarring or anything like that. It's a very fluid moment. It makes it really fun. And I love the lighting. The way that they did it, I was looking into it. And upon my research, I found out that the light shifts that were done on set. So they would actually plan it out. And then they would just dim the lights just enough when it was the right time. So I wonder how many takes it took to actually do that to get the right timing. Because I thought it was all digitally done. No, no, it's analog. And that's really cool. I like when people implement old fashioned filmmaking techniques because there's a lot of really nice tricks out there and people don't really make films like they used to anymore. I know I say that a lot, but if you look at filmmaking techniques back then and compare it to filmmaking techniques now, it's very different the way that people do it. Yeah, the lights, it'll dim down onto a certain character to emphasize that person in that moment. And then the light shifts are also used to change character perspectives. It'll go from one person and then it'll go to another person, but it's easy to tell whose perspective you're looking at. I also love the sound design. It really does a good job making you listen to your environment because there's times where it's quiet, there's no music. So you have to pay attention to what's going on around you. There's a lot of ambient noise. It really plays with that. It's really creepy the way it does it. This film's very atmospheric that way. So I thought it was good to start with the positives because, oh boy, I actually didn't end up liking this movie. But I'll get into that. Let's start positive. Let's start positive. It also does a good job of showing how heightened senses amplify, sorry, are amplified. The sound will be quieter and then it'll get a little bit louder but not like obnoxiously loud, but you can tell when you're listening from like the werewolf perspective or like when you're just listening from like a person's perspective, it's so different. Like there's this scene when the werewolf's walking around and there's a spider crawling on the wall, and every time the spider is thumping it sounds like it's like doing like a drum solo or something like that. Like it's really cool. I know it's not supposed to be like musical per se, but the way that sounds is this heavy thumping, even though it's just this, well, it's not a tiny spider. It's a good sized spider, like the size of my hand, just crawling around on the wall. You can hear every step, every little pitter patter. It's awesome. It's hard to explain, but once you see it, like you'll understand. Just finding my spot. Okay. One thing that I didn't like about it, that I really didn't like about it, was the werewolf makeup. To me, it wasn't quite wolfy enough. I mean, I've never seen a werewolf transformation where the person loses hair. That was really strange to me, and just the whole way they approached the whole werewolf thing. This is why it's not your traditional werewolf movie, because this movie treats the werewolf like after the guy gets bit. Well, he doesn't get bitten; he gets scratched. But anyways, I don't want to say too much because this is a pretty new movie, so this is going to be spoiler free. But anyways, he gets scratched, and it actually makes him physically sick, and he actually starts losing his hair, and the transformation when he does finally go through it, it's very disappointing because he does it and you're like, oh, that's it. Like it just kind of stops. It's like, well, wait, he's not really a werewolf. He's just like a guy that's a little bit more hairy and kind of disfigured. Like, I don't know. It doesn't look like a werewolf. Like, I get what they were going for. They were kind of going for that old school look from the original Wolfman. But I'll talk a little bit about the original Wolfman too, and why this movie was so disappointing for me. The film was written by Lee Winnell and his wife, Corbett Tuck. And I was doing a little bit of research, and I found out that this movie was actually written in 2020, back when COVID-19 was happening, the pandemic, and everybody was on lockdown. So you can kind of see that. It's reflected in the script. Oh, my sister just joined me. Hello, Beth, and thank you for joining me. We have quite the crowd. Where was I? Sorry. Yeah, you can kind of see that reflected in the script because they're pulling from different themes like confinement and isolation, and even the way the whole werewolf approach, sorry, the werewolf character was treated, that approach. You can tell that the whole sickness thing was very much inspired by what was going on not that long ago. But it is hard to believe that was 5 years ago. Yeah, my sister makes a very good point. When the movie is Wolfman, kind of disappointing when the title character is not visually appealing. And they do a good job too of not showing the monster like right away. It's not till closer to the end where you see what the werewolf looks like when he does that final transformation. But still, it was very disappointing. I know it's never going to be as good as American Werewolf in London, but still, the werewolf transformations in a lot of other movies are done a lot better. But I'll get into some other werewolf movies that I recommend that are better too a little bit later on. We'll get there. We'll get there. Bring back Sonic vibes before they fixed him. Yeah, yeah. I'm so glad they fixed Sonic. That would have been disappointing if they would just left it the way it was. So where was I? Yeah, okay. So it's also been said in different interviews that Lee Winnell inspired the way he approached the werewolf characters, similar to people that have diseases like ALS, because he's had friends who have been close to him who have passed away and family members too. So you can kind of see that reflected in the script too. You got COVID-19 and you got ALS. Those were both very horrible diseases, but unfortunately they have affected everybody in different ways. So you can see how art reflects life. And I appreciate how he takes it from a personal place. He's not just doing it for the money. This was a passion project of his, actually. But yeah, I went into this movie completely blind, and I can't help but feel disappointed. It's not all bad, but I didn't see any previews or anything like that, so it's not the story that I thought it was going to be. It's not exactly a remake of The Wolfman. It's not the same story. It doesn't have the same characters. Everything's all different. It's not even. It doesn't even take place in the UK like the original one did. The original took place in Wales. This one doesn't do that. This one takes place in Oregon. It's a much smaller, self-contained story too. The new movie is about a character named Blake, but it's about he gets a letter in the mail that says his father passed away and he's inherited the house that he used to live in back in Oregon, but he hasn't lived there for a very long time, so they've been estranged. So he invites his family to come with him. And then that's when all the shenanigans happen. But in the movie, Blake already has a family. And in the original, okay, the original Wolfman came out in 1941, and he's considered to be one of the classic Universal monsters. He's up there with Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy, the Invisible Man, the Bride of Frankenstein. I'm pretty sure there's an Invisible Woman too. Yeah, yeah, positive. And the Creature from the Black Lagoon. So these are like legendary monsters. The original was played by Lon Chaney Jr., and he played the character Lawrence Talbot. Claude Rains played Sir John Talbot, his father, and then Elwyn Ankers played Gwen. But that movie was all about Larry Talbot going back home because of his deceased brother, and he wanted to reconcile with his estranged father. So you can see there's a difference in the story there. And he was a single guy. When he goes to Wales, I think it is. Yeah, Wales. That's when he meets Gwen. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but it is a classic movie, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. The Wolfman's always been one of my favorite horror movie characters. He's like one of the best monsters. I do want to do a video one day about the best werewolf movies, but I don't want to do a live stream for that. That's going to be like a pre-recorded thing. I want to put more work into it than what it would take to do a live stream. So I'll get to that eventually. I don't know when, but yeah, eventually. But yeah, I was watching a documentary about the Wolfman, and apparently the original writer, whose name is Kurt Siodmak, sorry if I mispronounced that. Could even be Sidomak. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But he said his original script, his take on the werewolf characters, was inspired by Nazi Germany because he had been living a normal life in Germany, only to have it thrown into chaos. And then he himself was on the run when the Nazis took control. Kind of like how when you become a werewolf, you completely lose control of yourself and your senses and basically who you are. You just get reduced down to those primal urges. So you could see the comparisons there too. And after I found that out, that one scene from American Werewolf in London made a lot more sense. So, hey, you learn something every day, right? My sister just got back from seeing Minecraft in 3D. How was the 3D in that? I'm very curious how that would look. Again, I reviewed Minecraft last week, so if you haven't seen that, you can watch the replay on my channel. So, this movie, going back to Wolfman 2025, it does a good job of the world building because it takes its time setting up the characters. I didn't even realize that it wasn't like a half an hour. It was like a half an hour into the movie when you finally start getting to the horror part of everything, when the werewolf attacks. That's when the movie really kickstarts. But because of all the setup and everything, because it was so well done, I really got drawn into who the characters were and what they were doing. Kind of like what the dynamics were. So the whole movie is about this family stuck in this house. But before that, you see what's going on. The wife is like a writer or something like that. She's talking to her editor. It's not exactly clear, like if she's working for a magazine or like a newspaper or like for a website or something like that. But anyways, you can see there's this discomfort between the two. They're not necessarily a happy couple, and you can tell that they do love their daughter. Their daughter is played by Matilda Firth, and Blake is played by Christopher Abbott, and his wife Charlotte is played by Julia Garner. So the characters do a good job of really rounding this world and making you believe what's going on. It's just when they get to that house in the middle of nowhere, that's when everything goes downhill. Oh, my sister has a comment here. One second. Here we go. Minecraft the second time through was still good. They could have done more to engage the 3D effects. Like making, you'll have to include what we do in the shadows when you make the werewolf stream. Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Thank you for the recommendation. They should have made Dennis a werewolf. I just thought it was funny too. The one night where I decided this wasn't planned, but the one night where I decided to review a werewolf movie, it's a full moon. So yeah, go me. Go happy accidents. So where am I? Okay, yeah. So yeah, the adults are great, but then there's the kid. The little girl is named Ginger. I'm sorry, but I hate this kid's character. She's a fine actress, everything. It's just the way the character's written. I could not stand this character. She's just so bratty. Like she starts off sweet, but as the movie goes on, she gets more and more bratty. Like there's one point where something happens, and then she blames the mom for it. I don't want to say too much, but she blames the mom for it. But it's like, kid, you're being chased by a werewolf. Like, what do you expect? Of course, you're gonna hide in the house, and you're just gonna hide in the basement. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, I don't know. I don't know. This kid, she starts off really sweet, and then it goes along. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this kid's kind of obnoxious, and then she's more obnoxious, and then it's like, oh my god, I hate this kid. And she's not even really a character. Like she's just kind of there to be kind of like a prop for the parents to protect. She gets into a situation, the parents have to protect her. Then she gets into another situation, and then the parents have to protect her. We don't really know anything about her. We don't really learn anything. She doesn't have any growth. She doesn't start off one way and become different toward the end. Like she's just kind of there. So it just feels like she's a prop. So overall, by the end of the movie, because it's not just the kid, the other two characters too. Like once you get past that, they're very one dimensional characters. They don't really have any agency. They don't really make the smartest decision. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen in this movie that are just illogical. Like I know you're stuck in a house with a werewolf, but think about it. You know that the father is a hunter. So wouldn't the father have guns in the house? Wouldn't you think to go look for those? No, they find a gun later on, but it's got nothing to do with. It's not inside that house. No, not at all. So they don't really have that much agency. They just kind of sit around and they wait for something to happen, and then they just kind of react to it instead of doing things to get out of the situation. Like there's a scene with a car, and the woman's trying to jump it with a car battery, but what happens is she just kind of goes to the car with the battery and she just automatically knows how to hook it up to this truck, and she knows like how to turn it on, and she knows everything about how to do it. I don't know about you, but I don't drive, so I don't know anything about car batteries. And how did she even know that the truck was going to need a car battery anyways? Like, yeah, the truck's been sitting there for a while, but she didn't even try it first. She just went there with the battery, and then oh, it works now. Okay, like, and then the werewolf attacks the car, of course, but the way it's set up, it really bothers me because the way it's set up too. This character doesn't drive. She's from New York City, so she probably never drove in her life or anything like that. Because you can get around without a car in big cities like that. And she's got like an office job. She's a writer, so she wouldn't be that mechanically inclined. So it's just there's little things like that that really bother me. And there's another part where they climb up onto this like tent thing, trying to get away from the werewolf, and he's like slashing away. And it's like, what are you doing? Why did you even climb up there? That was so stupid. There's a lot of really dumb mistakes. People do dumb things just so the plot can move forward. And I don't like when movies do that. You can have smart characters in your movie. It is possible. And then same thing with the little girl. Aside from what I told you, it's not even that clear what the wife does. But we don't know that much about these characters. Aside from they're having some kind of marital problems, they've been distant because the wife's kind of career driven. But that's not really explored much more than like the first act. So that's what I mean. Like you don't know that much about the characters, so that means you don't really care about the characters. There's just something there to make that connection. What makes this the most disappointing for me, though, because this is from Lee Winnell, and if you're not familiar, he's the one who helped start the Saw series. He helped start the Insidious series, and he even did the more recent The Invisible Man back in 2020. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on too. So when I heard that he was doing his version of the Wolfman, I was really excited for that. And then it's like, this is what we get. We get a sick guy that kind of resembles a dog, but not really. He doesn't even have a snout. We get sort of characters that do dumb things out in the woods. And then one thing that really bothered me is how many werewolves are out there in this town. Because without saying too much, the main character, Blake, he experiences the werewolf in the beginning. So that's one. Oh, I just got a warning that my battery is low. So I just need to grab my cord right here. One moment. Got my charger. Just give me a second. I'll plug this in. Oh, sorry about that. All right. So let's go to the comments real quick. Sounds like you were more disappointed with Nosferatu. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was way more disappointed with Nosferatu. My problem with this, like, it wasn't a totally bad movie, and it started off really strong, and I enjoyed it most of the way. But then it got to the end, and when it revealed the werewolf, and then it just kind of stops. It's got one of those abrupt endings. There's not really any resolution. There's not really a story either. They just kind of sit around in the house the whole time. There's no like goal that they're trying to achieve. There's nothing that they have to overcome or anything like that other than survive the night. And I thought it was a strange writing choice too. The whole movie takes place in one night. You think it'd be a more dire situation if they were stuck there for like a week or two when their food and their water supplies start getting low, and they're off the grid too in this house, so they're working off a power generator. So what if all those resources started to get low, and then you have a werewolf outside while you have a guy turning into a guy turning into a werewolf inside? That'd be a really fun way to look at it, but that's not what they did. Excuse me, I have to plug this in. Okay, we are back. I am back. There's only one of me here. Okay. So back to what I was saying. Another thing this movie tries to do is it has a lot of these very on the nose metaphors. Like somebody literally says something. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but it's something along the lines that I was trying to protect you from scars, but I ended up giving you scars, or something like that. And they keep saying it, and they just keep pounding it over the head with you. It's like, oh my god, I get it. Like you could have had symbolism. You could have had the werewolf be a more direct metaphor for something, not specifically disease, but you could have been a little bit like the werewolf movies. Like it doesn't really feel like a werewolf movie. It does have like a few good jump scares. It's not over reliant on them, which is pretty good. There's this one scene that was really good. I'm surprised I didn't see this coming because there's a scene where they try to barricade all the windows and they try to barricade all the doors. But there's a door with a little window in it, and he's looking through it to see if he can see the werewolf. And then out of nowhere, the werewolf grabs him through the doggy door. That really got me. I jumped. I couldn't believe it. it, it it's one of those things where you don't think about. You're like, okay, yeah, it's a doggy door, but the werewolf actually used it. I thought that was cool. It was kind of a funny little addition. Like, there's little moments like that. That's what I mean. This movie's not all bad. It's just after the movie, the more I thought about it, the more it fell apart. So it wasn't as good as any of the other Lee Whannell movies. If I had to rank them, I'd put this one probably down toward the bottom because, like, the characters aren't as strong, the story's not there, like, at all, and the special effects makeup is really disappointing. So the only really good things it's got going for it is like the sound design, the editing's pretty cool. I did like the cinematography and the lighting, the way that all that changes and the way the camera shifts around. So I do recommend seeing it. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad movie by any stretch. It's just not the kind of interpretation that I thought it would be. It's a totally different thing. I struggle to even call this a werewolf movie, but hey, it is technically a werewolf movie. It's also got a fun reference to Saw in it. I don't want to say too much, but I couldn't believe it was going that direction. I'm like, no, he's not going to do that. And then all of a sudden it does it, and it's hilarious. So the way they do it, it feels so natural too. It doesn't feel forced because all I'm going to say is somebody gets their foot caught in a bear trap, and then oh my god, yeah, go Saw. Let's see, I touched on the Wolfman already. I touched on that. I touched on the metaphors. All right. So that brings me to recommendations. So, if you do like werewolf movies, some of the ones that this is similar to, by that I mean someone's stuck in one location and the werewolves are outside trying to get inside, and the whole transformation, like what it's like to be a werewolf, like from that perspective. If you like movies like that, more traditional werewolf movies that you might enjoy are Howl from 2015, and then there's Bad Moon from 1996, and then finally Wolf from 1994. Those movies are fantastic and they're much better done than this movie. So I do recommend it, but I also recommend those too. But watch The Wolfman first and then watch those movies. Then you'll see what I'm talking about. So, my official grade for The Wolfman is a medium popcorn. It's in the middle. It's not great, but it's not terrible. It's got its moments. And remember, even a man who's pure at heart and says his prayers at night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. That's a famous quote from the original Wolfman. So now that we've covered that, let's talk about some other Blumhouse horror movies, shall we? So I'm going to start with some of the worst. Let's get those out of the way first. Then we'll talk about the gold standard of Blumhouse horror movies. So there's a few, sorry, there's a few Blumhouse horror movies that I've already covered on the channel, and I have videos about those. Like, there was Five Nights at Freddy's from 2023. There's Night Swim. There's Afraid. There's Megan, which came out in 2022. There's The Exorcist Believer, which came out in 2023. That's right, they made an Exorcist movie, and it is in within continuity of the original Exorcist. Still, terrible film. And Insidious, The Red Door. Those are in a lot of my worst of like 2022, 2023 lists. So if you want to see those videos, those are on my channel. I'll talk a little bit about them, but not a whole lot here. I just didn't think those movies were very good. Ah, yes. Beth and Sabrina both agree that Black Phone is a good movie. I do too, and I'll get to that shortly. So another one that I didn't like very much was I know it's popular and it's got a lot of sequels. I had no idea there were as many sequels as there was, but it's The Purge. The original Purge came out in 2013, and there's like five or six sequels. Hold on. I gave up on the screen sharing thing, so I'm just going to look that up real quick. Purge sequels. But I couldn't buy into the original concept for the first Purge, so therefore I haven't seen any of the other sequels. I can't talk about those ones. And it has been a while since I've seen this first one. But yeah, the whole premise about just the whole why does everyone straight why does everybody go straight to killing all the time? Like, wouldn't they do other crimes too? Like the whole crime with it's just so convoluted. The whole crime with no not what's the word I'm looking for? Consequences. Yes, sorry. Crime with no consequences. That is such a convoluted premise. Like, so much would have to go into play in order for that to work. And why does everybody go straight to murder? Like, you don't think people are going to try and rob banks or just go looting and get like free food at the grocery stores and stuff like that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I get it's supposed to be a horror movie, but horrific things can happen when people are desperate and hungry. I'm just saying, there's different directions they could have went. That probably would have been more interesting. I mean, most of the movie, the guy is stuck in one house, and the people are trying to get in, but it's not even like all that intriguing. Like, the family's not that interesting. Ethan Hawke is in it. He does pretty good. I just wasn't very interested in what was going on because it's just the way that it was written. I never really cared about those characters. I had a similar problem with the Wolfman that I just talked about. We don't know that much about them. So let's see how many Purge movies there are. It looks like, okay, yeah. There's five Purge movies. There was The Purge in 2013. The Purge Anarchy came out in 2014. Election Year came out in 2016. Then there was The First Purge. I assume that's a prequel. It was 2018. And finally, there was The Forever Purge, which was 2021. So that there, it's another one of the big franchises, but not for me. I'd give the original Purge a small popcorn. One of the worst. Another one of the worst was Ma from 2019. This movie was all about a woman that invited different like high school kids to their house to like party, and then turns out that she had sinister intentions. Again, I don't want to say too much. These are all going to be spoiler-free reviews. That movie was just very generic, very dull. The characters aren't very likable in it. It had Octavia Spencer, that's her name, as the lead in that one. So that's another one. I give that one a small popcorn. It's just like your generic slasher movie. It's not very good. The premise is kind of interesting, but there's other movies that are like that are done much better. Another one that I didn't like very much was Firestarter from 2022. This was a remake from the Drew Barrymore movie that came out in the 80s that was based off a Stephen King story. I think it was a novel. But yeah, the way this movie set up, it says Zac Efron as the dad, and I forget who plays the little girl. But anyways, this movie was so bad. This was so hard to sit through. I remember little bits and pieces from it because I watched it when it came out, but I couldn't bring myself to watch it again because it's just so dull, it's so uninteresting, and there's parts in it that just become unintentionally funny. So that's another one. I wouldn't recommend that one. I'd avoid Firestarter in 2022. I'd give that one a small popcorn too. Most of these are going to be small popcorn worthy. All these worst ones. Ah, Sabrina says, I didn't care for Insidious Red Door. Yeah, I didn't care for that one either. I'm going to talk about that one next. My main problem with that one was, let's see, that one came out in 2023. So yeah, that wasn't that long ago. That one, I was looking forward to it because they were finally going to continue the story that they left off in part two. And that was a really cool idea because after that one, three and four are more about the medium, Lin Shay. She plays that character. I forget the character's name, but that's okay. Anyways, it's all about her character. So to come back and to actually do, technically this would be Insidious 3 in chronological order if you put them that way. And then this is the story that we get. All it did, like, it's supposed to have this mystery, but there's no mystery because it just keeps telling stuff that we already know. We know what's going on with the demon. We know what's going on with the further because they forgot everything that they did in the other movie. So it's just them remembering the first two movies while we watch them do that. Like, it's so dumb, and it's so dumb how they finish the movie off too the way it is. I don't want to say too much, but they don't really do anything. The evil stuff just kind of stops happening, and it's like it's over. We sat through an hour and a half of this, really? No, not good. I had the same problem with Megan. I'll talk about that a little bit more too. I'll go back to that list that I said in the beginning. My problem with Megan is it felt too much like a remake of the Child's Play remake, and it tries to have messages about how kids become too dependent on technology, but it all because it feels watered down because the main characters are just so shallow and they're so obnoxious and they're so unlikable. You just can't care about characters that you don't like. Like, that's a very hard thing to do. And then same thing with Afraid. It tries to have the same message, but it just fails in all those aspects just because the writing's not there. Night Swim's a whole other story. Like that was a cool concept, but the way they executed it too, with like even the wishing well idea, that's a really cool concept. They just reserve too much on the jump scares, and that becomes a very generic horror movie. Five Nights at Freddy's is another story because I was a fan of those games. I talked about this a little bit in last week's episode too because I talked about video game adaptations, and I don't think it really reflects what the games are all about. So if you want to hear more about that, then you can watch my last video from last week. It's a very disappointing movie because it doesn't even have very many jump scares, and that's the one movie where I would actually accept. Okay, yeah, it's over relying on jump scares, but it's Five Nights at Freddy's, so you have to like you don't have to, but you kind of expect that. You know what I mean? So another one, there's a couple ones. Blumhouse also recently did the Halloween movies. So I kind of like Halloween 2018. I'll talk about that one a little bit later. But their sequels are awful. You got Halloween Kills, and then you have Halloween Ends. Kills came out in 2021, and Ends came out in 2022. And this was supposed to be a trilogy. But these movies are just so bad because, again, I don't think they had a plan for a complete trilogy. Because it's kind of like how the Star Wars trilogy was planned out, the more recent one. Each sequel to that original one actively goes against what that one set up and then goes in a whole different direction. There's a lot of bold writing choices that they do in those Halloween movies, and it's so disappointing because this is supposed to be like the final chapters, final chapters of Michael Myers, right? But if you love horror movies, then you know when they say final chapter, it's never the final chapter. Another one that I didn't care for was Truth or Dare. This came out in 2018. I've compared Smile to this one before, but this one did come out first. But I think Smile did it much better because, like, just the way that the characters are written, it's actually sort of homophobic the way it comes across with one of the character storylines because it's all about like him coming out to his father, and then there's this other very questionable things. And the way the movie ends, it doesn't end very intelligently. I'll just say that. I don't want to say too much. This is spoiler free, but just some decisions these characters make. It's pretty bad. Oh, and the characters in this are really unlikable. I've talked about unlikable characters before. Oh my goodness. It's pretty bad when you're about 15, 20 minutes into a horror movie and you're like, oh my God, just kill these people and get this over with. That's what it's like. Another one that I didn't like was Us. This was a Jordan Peele movie. And I didn't have a date for this one, so I'm just going to look up the movie. 2019. Us came out in 2019. Excuse me, I just need a drink. Ah, that's good water. Okay, but this movie has a very stupid, convoluted premise. It's all about this, without saying too much, I won't spoil anything. But it's all about this underground civilization that lives in all these tunnels, and they all have matching outfits, and they all have these matching scissors, and one of them doesn't speak very well. And it sets this up in the beginning, and then right away I called the twist. I remember watching this with my sister. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is how it's gonna go. And then by the end, we find out what happened. It's like, oh yeah, I was right. It's supposed to be this big twist ending, and then no, it's just not very well thought out, not very smart. I just didn't like it. And again, it's a very convoluted premise. So much would have to be involved. Like, who built all these tunnels, and why do all these people have these matching outfits? Like, why are they all matchy matchy? And all these scissors. Who buys all these scissors? There's so many scissors, and they're all the same kind. Like, I get this production thing, but it really takes away from the not realism, but what's the word I'm looking for? Um, yeah, I'm drawing a blank right now, but that's okay. My point's still valid. Doesn't have the oh, what am I looking for? What am I looking for? What's the word? Okay, I'm drawing a complete blank right now. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's supposed to be like grounded and it's supposed to be taken seriously. But then it has all these really far fetched concepts. And suspension of disbelief. That's what I was trying to think of. I got there. Yeah, go me. But yeah, you really need a strong suspension of disbelief, and this one just completely throws it out the window. Another popular one by Jordan Peele that people rave about. Someone consider it one of the best modern horror movies of our time. But I was very disappointed with Get Out, which came out in 2018. I just thought this movie was too woke for its own good. And I thought it was too on the nose with its metaphors when it came to him falling into that abyss or whatever it was called. And then the whole thing about like the racism issues. I just don't like, well, it's not that I don't like how it was approached. I just didn't like how it came across because he had a good idea on his hands and the potential was there, but the way it was done and the way he finds out that the whole thing is kind of a conspiracy. Again, I'm not saying too much, like you know in the previews, by what goes on, that there's stuff going on between the white people and the black people, and it just becomes a very social. No, sorry, it becomes way focused on social commentary, and it puts that before the storytelling, and that's not how you should do stories. I know it's not a horror movie, but I had a similar problem with the Barbie movie, and then there was another movie like that. Oh, the Strange Darling. That's what it was. That was a horror movie that I had a problem with too, because it's very sexist towards women. So can you be misogynistic? Yeah, yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. Misogynistic. It's very misogynistic towards women. So this is the opposite. Just the way that it approaches its subject matter and the way that things plan out makes you question if like people would actually act like that. Like it just seems too far fetched for me and it seems kind of like blown out of proportion. So I don't know. It wasn't for me. I just didn't like the story because, especially the way he finds out, it's like really because it is kind of obvious what's going on, even if you haven't seen the previews. I saw the preview before I saw it, and I haven't really seen it since it came out. So a lot of this I'm just kind of going off memory for. But yeah, I'm found that. No, sorry, that might be a hot take, but I didn't like the movie Get Out. Jordan Peele did make one movie I like. I did like Nope, but that's not a Blumhouse movie. I looked into it. Another one I was disappointed with was the Paranormal Activity sequels. More specifically, the marked ones, the Ghost Dimension, and there was a remake that they did. What's going on here? Okay, yeah, there's a remake that they did called Next of Kin, and that came out in 2021. The other two, Ghost Dimension was 2014, and the marked ones was that's not right. It says 2014 here, but no, that was earlier. I think that was like 2013. It was part five. But yeah, I'll get into the other ones later on. But the Paranormal Activity movie started off so strong, and it had this focused story that I kept expanding with each one. And then with these ones, they go in completely different directions with completely different families. And it just feels so disjointed. And it just feels so random. And it's sort of like, why did they make these kind of movies? Like, why did they pick this direction when they could have just kept on with what they were doing? Because the fifth one sort of ties into the original three. Sorry, the original four. But the other one is just completely different because what they did is they made the mistake of trying to do a 3D found footage movie. So just think about the implications of that for a moment. Found footage is supposed to be this grounded, realistic thing that it could be possible that they actually found this footage, hence the name, and then this is what we got from the stuff that we put together. Like, I was there when the original Blair Witch came out in 1999. I was about 14 years old. So I saw all the hype, and a lot of people really thought that actually happened. I mean, you can account Blair Witch for being one of the founders of the found footage movie. That's kind of funny, the way that sounds. But yeah, after that, there was this huge surge in found footage movies. And you can thank the Blair Witch for that. But the worst one of all is certainly The Next of Kin. This one was a straight to streaming movie. I think I watched it on Shutter. Excuse me. And it's all about a girl that's trying to get back to her roots in Amish country. So it's all about these like religious, like evil people that are also Amish. And it's just like the way the story plays out. Like I watched this a long time ago, so I'm just going off memory. But the stuff I remember, it's not that interesting. First of all, there's a lot of dumb jump scares that you can see coming from a mile away, and then again, the story isn't that strong because weird things happen, and it's like, so why are you staying there? Like your car works. Why not just leave? You can leave at any time. Don't even try. As far as I can remember, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I hated Next of Kin. That was so bad, just left a bad taste in my mouth. So I think that's it for the worst of the worst. Yeah, that is. Okay. So now let's get into some of the best. And since I just talked about it, and Sabrina's saying something about it too, I'm going to talk about Paranormal Activity. This is another one of the biggest horror franchises for Blumhouse Productions. She says, Paranormal Activity scared me out of my wits. Yeah, I showed it to my mom too, and it scared her out of her wits too. She tried watching the second one, and she couldn't watch it. So I give you credit, Sabrina. You did try to watch the first one with me, and I think we got through the second one. But after that, you tapped out. I understand some movies are just too scary for some people. Yeah, the first Paranormal Activity came out in 2007. The second one came out in 2010. The third one came out in 2011. And the fourth one came out in 2012. The fourth one is actually my favorite one. I love Paranormal Activity 4. But the first three are really important because they really set up that whole story with Katie and her sister and Toby. And I love how, like, I don't normally like sequels, but I do like how they do the third one because it takes place in the 80s and they got VHS tapes and they got all these old cameras and they really incorporate all this old technology. And it's really cool how they did it. In fact, how they set it up too. It starts off like a regular Paranormal Activity movie, like the first two did. But then they find this box of tapes and then he puts it in to watch it. And then it goes to that. And then that's the rest of the movie. It's really cool how it's set up. And it's so much different from the other two. And then same with the fourth one. The fourth one, it starts off focusing on a different family, but then you see how Katie ties into it and how the whole hunter thing ties into it too. Yeah, Sabrina just confirmed. We got halfway through the third movie before I tapped out. Oh, okay, yeah, the third movie. So you remember the one with the little girls. And even that, they had a lot of cool visual effects in that one. Like there's this scene where the little girl gets picked up by her hair and how people get flown across rooms. Very neat special effects. You can tell that a lot of practical things are done, and I like how they did that. That was my problem with the Ghost Dimension. That was part 6.
They use so much CGI in that movie, and I actually went to see that in 3D because I'm like, how's this movie gonna look? It was dumb. It was really dumb. I did not like that movie at all. But yeah, the first four are fantastic. The first one especially does a really good job of the world building. You really care about Micah and you really care about Katie. The second one does good at expanding that world because you see the sister's family. And we get introduced to the Hunter character, which is also really important to the rest of the franchise, except for like the later ones when it goes downhill. But yeah, I highly recommend the first four Paranormal Activity movies. So the first two, I would give a large popcorn. The third one, I would give an extra large popcorn. And the fourth one, I'd give an extra, extra, extra large popcorn. I love part four so much, especially the way it ties in to all the other ones. It's really cool. And that was my first introduction to Catherine Newton, who was in another movie I want to talk about. Good segue. Freaky. Freaky came out in 2020. And this is a slasher movie that's turned on its head because it takes the Freaky Friday premise, hence the name, and it flips it because it takes a teenage girl and puts it into the body of a serial killer. And the serial killer is played by Vince Vaughn. So his performance as a teenage girl is hilarious because you can tell that he's not just doing a generic teenage girl. He's actually doing a pretty good impression of what Catherine Newton was acting like before, like in the beginning of the movie. And the way Catherine Newton acts as the serial killer too, it's fantastic. She can be funny and she can be sweet, but all of a sudden she can be scary, like really scary. So that versatility I really appreciate. And that movie was also directed by the same guy who did Happy Death Day 1 and 2. These movies are great too. Sorry. Before we move on to those ones, Freaky, I'd give it a large popcorn for it. That's a lot of fun. It's one of those movies too. The ending, it really like makes you think about the movie differently. So yeah, really recommend Freaky. But back to Happy Death Day. This is a similar sort of idea because they take an old premise. This one is kind of like Groundhog Day, but it has that slasher twist. So the girl has to relive the same day again and again and again until she figures out who her killer is. And I like how the first one sets up the world. You start to see how she was before, and she has a lot of character development in this. The main character is Tree. My sister says, I don't think I saw Happy Death Day 2. Was it as good as the first? Yeah, because what the second one does is it kind of explores further the world that they set up before and adds this science fiction twist. So it explains why she kept reliving that day specifically over and over and over again. It just happened to be her birthday. That's kind of a funny coincidence. But yeah, the second one is really good. I recommend both of them. I'd give the first one an extra large popcorn because it's so good. And the second one, and it is kind of repetitive, but I do like how they switch things up. It's not the same killer as it was the first time because what they do is this time rift. So things get shifted around and things are different than they were a little bit than there was before. It's really cool how they did it, but I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too much. So yeah, I'd give the first one an extra large popcorn, and I give the second one a large popcorn. I love Happy Death Day; it's so good, and the mask, the babyface killer mask, is so creepy. I thought it was a very clever mask design. So another one that I loved, and okay, funny story. Actually, yeah, okay, okay. When I first met my girlfriend, she said she wasn't a big fan of horror movies, so I wanted to introduce her to, kind of for her to get used to it. I wanted to kind of start baby steps. So I asked her what the first movie was that she wanted to watch. She really surprised me because she wanted to watch Sinister. That one came out in, I just had it. Where did it go? Sinister 2013. And some consider this because they did like these scientific studies or whatever. And they said that this is one of the scariest movies of all time. I don't think that necessarily, but I do think this is a really good movie because it has a pretty clever concept. Ethan Hunt is like this writer, and well, like a true crime writer. So he moves into this house of this serial killer, and he's trying to figure out what happened to this family because every time that family gets murdered, a child goes missing, and this has been going on for decades. We're talking like 30 years or something like that. And then as the story plays out, it adds this supernatural element that I didn't expect because it starts off really grounded, and even the previews, it doesn't really hint at that as far as I remember, but that was a long time ago, so I don't really remember those previews. But anyways, the way that it's set up, it's very grounded, and then it takes this left turn all of a sudden, and it just the way it happens, it feels so natural, and it's just so satisfying. Then you find out what's actually going on, and I couldn't believe it the first time. I didn't even see that coming. And then, like, this movie has a lot of creative kills too. I love the practical gore effects in this movie because it has these old movies. Ethan Hawke, not Hunt. This isn't it. Mission Impossible. Ethan Hawke. He finds this box of tapes, these VHS. No, it's not even VHS tapes. He finds these film reels and he puts it on this projector, and he watches these home movies, and they start off really nice, and then it shows the family being murdered, and oh my god, I couldn't believe some of the scenes that happen in this when it comes to the kills. It's really clever how that it happens. It's not your generic horror movie, so I do give a lot of props to that. I give credit where credit's due. I love clever movies. The second one's okay. I think that one came out in like 2019. Sinister 2 is not as good. I give Sinister 2 a medium popcorn because that one's kind of derivative. It feels kind of repetitive. It doesn't even have Ethan Hawke in that one. It's got a different character and it goes kind of a different direction, but it does have the same main bad guy without saying too much. So yeah, I'd recommend both of them though. The first one get the large popcorn. The second one get the medium popcorn. Another one that's really good is Split. This one was really unexpected because it came out of nowhere, and it is mind blowing because the way it goes. And James McAvoy, he plays the main character with all the split personalities. I think they call him the Horde. But yeah, he's got like 23 personalities or something like that. And while it doesn't show every personality, it does show a bunch of them. And his range, you really believe that he's trying to be the different people that he's trying to portray and that they're all different characters. Like you can tell he put a lot of thought into how he wanted each of these personalities to be. And then you get to the conclusion and you find out what the movie was really about. Wow. I did not see that coming. That blew my mind. Couldn't believe it. Again, I don't want to say too much, but wow, this turns out to be a movie related to another movie that came out a while ago, and I just love when stuff does that. Similarly, Final Destination did that. Final Destination 5 was a prequel, but we didn't find that out until the end of the movie when they get onto the plane that the kids from the first one go onto. So that was really cool how they did that in that movie. And I'm not saying the same thing happens in the other movie, but something similar. So I give that one a large popcorn too. Another one that I really recommend, actually, it's just as good as Split, if not better, is Black Phone. A couple people mentioned this earlier. Ethan Hawke's in this one too, but he plays the killer in this one, the grabber. And this one's really interesting because what the grabber does is he kidnaps these kids, but then he keeps them in the basement for a while before he ends up murdering them. But this one also has a cool supernatural element because while the main kid, I think his name is Finn in the movie or something like that, he keeps getting phone calls from the different kids and that were victims of the grabber, and they give him clues on how to get out. So it kind of feels like a video game. There's little missions that he does, and he has certain things that he tries out. And if it doesn't work one way, he'll try again a different way. So he keeps constantly learning and growing through the whole movie. There's a lot of good character development for that Finn character. My sister says Ethan Hawke was so good in the horror movie genre. Props to him for dipping into this side of filmmaking. I have to agree. Whether he's the victim or if he's the killer, he's really good when it comes to acting as the bad guy. So a lot of times it's fun to play the bad guy, I'm sure. So you can tell too, he's having a lot of fun in the role. He's just so creepy in that movie too. Oh, some of the stuff that he says to that kid, I couldn't believe it. Like when I paraphrase him. He says something along the lines like, "I'm not going to touch you. I just want to sit here and look at you." But the way that he says it, ooh, ooh, that is so creepy. And there's a lot of little things too, like when he's waiting for the kid at the top of the stairs when he's sitting in the chair and he's sitting there. I love how the masks change too. He's got like a smiley face mask, and then he's got like a frowny face mask, and then he's got like a plain one. There's three different versions of it, and depending on his mood is the one that he wears. So that's a nice little touch too. That mask is iconic. I love that mask. The same with the baby face mask from Happy Death Day. Those are iconic masks from modern horror, and I hope those movies get more sequels so that the masks can live on. I can talk today. I got there. I said my sentence. Beth says, I like how the movie didn't turn into an SA thing, making it about power and cat and mouse with the naughty boy. Yeah, yeah, I agree. That could have went a very bad direction, and that could have went south fast. But no, they went a higher standard. It had more class to that. It wasn't really about that. It was more about what the kid's going to do to escape. And it didn't really touch on what happened to the other kids too. Like, yeah, it has that component to it, but it's only mildly hinted at. It's not like in your face about it, which I really appreciate. It's more tasteful. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah, I highly recommend Black Phone. I'd give that one an extra large popcorn too. That one actually, I just remembered. I did a video about that too because it came out in 2022. So that would have made my best horror movies of 2022 list. So you can watch that movie and I'll talk a little bit more about it. Sorry, not that movie, that video. Let's see. Beth says, do you think it's more of a multiple personality thing? Different masks, different personality? Like the one with no teeth and no smile. He didn't do that with the others. Oh, I hadn't considered that. That's actually a good point. It could be a multiple personality thing, sort of like Split. So whatever personality he is, that's the mask that he would wear. I like that idea. That's really cool. Another really good psychological horror movie that's sort of like Black Phone that I enjoy is called Hush. And I don't think I watched this with you, Sabrina. I think I watched this with Beth. But it's all about a writer, and she's deaf, and she goes to this cabin in the woods to get inspiration for her new book. But there's a mass killer outside trying to get in. And it's really interesting because of the whole concept of the main protagonist being deaf. So she can't hear anything that's going on, but her other senses are sort of heightened. Sorry, my cat just scared me. Her other senses are sort of heightened, and it's all about her perspective, and it's how she deals with it that way. So it's a whole new way of looking at that kind of home invasion movie. I almost said slasher, but it's not really a slasher. It's more of a home invasion. It's another movie too. It's really smart because the character doesn't do dumb things, just so the plot keeps moving forward. And the mask is really creepy in this. I love that mask. There's this scene where he's just staring at her through like the screen door, and she's like, "I don't even know who you are, so like, why are you doing this to me?" And then he takes the mask off, and he's like, "I don't care if you see my face. You're not gonna make it through the night," or something like that. It's just such a creepy line delivery, and I love the actor that played him. Just give me a second here. I can look up the guy that played in Hush. This was, I think I watched it on Shudder. It came out a little while ago. It was 2018. So I'll just pull up IMDb because I'm not going to try the screen sharing thing again. That didn't really work out before. So, whatever. The show must go on, right? If I can only spell the name right. Here we go. Hush. So yeah, the stalker in that one is played by John Gallagher Jr. And then the main protagonist, Maddie, is played by Katie Siegel. Sorry, Kate Kate Siegel. My apologies. But yeah, it was written and directed by Mike Flanagan. He's such a good writer and director. Well, at the time, he was fairly new to horror, so we didn't really know who he was. But since then, he's come up with a lot of good horror movies and TV shows. Like he did Doctor Sleep, he did a few Netflix shows. Can't remember them off by hand, but yeah, I really recommend stuff done by Mike Flanagan. I'm really curious to see what else he does in the future because he's such a good horror director. And actually, speaking of Mike Flanagan, I'm pretty sure he wrote and directed the next movie that I was going to talk about, Oculus. So, 1 second. This came out in 2013. And yeah, yeah, sure enough, I was right. It was also written and directed by Mike Flanagan. So go me with the segue. I'll just remove that. Yeah, cool. But yeah, this one, Oculus came out before Hush. This came out in 2013. And it's all about this cursed mirror that keeps afflicting this family. And it's so clever how it works things out because it does good with the world building. You see something go on with the family, and you see that this family has this tragedy. And it's all about these two siblings, played by Karen Gillan and Brendan Thwaites, the brother and sister. Karen Gillan, she was in Doctor Who, and she was in Guardians of the Galaxy. She played Nebula. But anyways, Oculus. It's about the cursed mirror. And the way it plays out, it does a good job of messing with your perceptions. It makes you rethink what you just watched because something will happen, but you can't tell if it's actually happening in reality because of the mirror or if it's going on inside of the different characters' heads. So something will happen with the boy, with the sorry, I forgot his name already. Tim. The character's name is Tim. Tim and Kaylee. Yeah, Tim and Kaylee. Something will happen with Tim, and then he'll turn his head, and then his sister will be like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, he'll look around, and all of a sudden he's inside when he was just outside in the front yard. So was he really outside in the front yard, or was he just imagining that? That's what I mean. This movie's really good. And the way this movie ends, you won't believe it. Again, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get too much into spoilers. But yeah, fantastic movies. I'd give Oculus an extra large popcorn. So now I'll get to. Oh, there's. This movie was kind of controversial. It came out in 2020. It was called Hunt. This was a very politically charged movie at the time. That's why there was so much controversy. But I like this movie. It's a fun movie. It's kind of inspired by, there's an old story called The Most Dangerous Game. It's kind of like a modern twist on that with this politically charged message that's kind of added onto it. It's got a lot of, I don't want to say woke, but it does have social commentary. And I like how this movie plays out too, because it's really clever the way that you think it's about one character, and then you find out those characters get killed off, and then it's about another character, excuse me, another character, and all of a sudden that person gets killed. So you don't really know who the movie's about at first, because there's so many characters, and then all of a sudden it focuses more and more on this one. And then you find out more about this character. And I don't want to say too much, but this end is, it's got a really funny like twist to it. And I didn't see it coming. Like it's really clever. And then the main girl, she has this fight with Hilary Swank at the end in the kitchen, and it's really funny too. It's so long, but it's hilarious how it goes because it's just so over the top. They're flipping each other over counters. They're slamming each other against walls, slamming each other against like through these glass tables. Like they're throwing knives. They're throwing out windows. Like it just goes on, and it's so long. It's hilarious. My sister has a comment. Yeah, Oculus is terrifying. It really messes with you. Kind of like 1408 with John Cusack. It's good with messing with reality and perceptions. And it's the kind of movie that's really rewatchable too, because you'll notice things that you didn't notice the first time. Oh, I love Oculus so much. I think that's on Netflix right now if you want to watch it. So, yeah, I was just saying The Hunt. I'm going to recommend that one. I'll give that one a large popcorn too. I just want to talk about one more and I'll get into the big one, Insidious. But before I talk to that, I'm going to talk about Creep. Because this is a smaller movie that people might not be aware that this was a Blumhouse movie. Because I think, as far as I know, it was released straight to streaming. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is the really creepy found footage movie about a guy doing a documentary about another guy. And at first you wonder, okay, yeah, because like it's called Creep. You're like, why is it called Creep? You're like, okay, yeah, this guy's really creepy. But how creepy this guy is, and then the lengths that he goes, It's so good. A sequel came out too a couple years later. This one came out in 2014. I think the sequel came out in 2016. And it's not as good because it's about this girl that wants to be like his protege. It kind of takes like the Dexter route. So, yeah, I'd give that one like a small popcorn. It wasn't good, not very memorable. But the first Creep, wow. You might see memes with like the wolf mask on like Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. But the way that plays out and how that plot device works, it's so good. Oh, I'm not really a fan of found footage movies, but the writing's there and it has clever kills and it has creepy characters and it has I forget the main character's name. Give me 1 second because the actor's really good. He deserves credit. Yeah, Creep 2 was 2017. Sorry, I was corrected. But the guy that plays Creep, his name's Joseph. It's Mark Duplass. And the other guy in the movie is Patrick Bryce. He's good too. But Mark Duplass is such a good villain in that movie. You totally buy into how creepy it is at first. Because it starts with little awkward things, and then it kind of elevates, and it gets more creepy as it goes along. And I know I'm saying creepy a lot, but that really is the best way to describe this movie. Or eerie. But yeah, creepy is way more fitting. So I'd give the first Creep a large popcorn. I love Creep. Highly recommended. Great horror movie. So now let's talk about the big one, shall we? Insidious. I love Insidious. A lot of people confuse these with the Conjuring movies. The Conjuring movies are not Blumhouse movies. So, the first Insidious movie. This came out in, I just lost it, where to go? 2010. And then the other ones came out like a couple of years after. So, the first one is really the one I want to focus on. Oh, excuse me, my nose is itchy. Okay. The first Insidious came out in 2010. It's all about a little boy who can do astral projection and he goes into a different dimension called the Further, which is kind of like the afterlife, but it's a little bit different. It's not that clear on what's going on. But yeah, it's really creepy the way it sets it up because it takes the traditional haunted house story and it completely flips it on its head. It's not a spoiler because it happens like halfway through the movie. So usually when people are in haunted houses, your first reaction is, why not just move out? The family does that. And then they find out the house isn't haunted. It's the little boy that's haunted. That's a really clever twist on the old haunted house story. Instead of just doing the old generic route, they put a new spin on it. And this was also, I think it was directed by James Wan, the first one, but it was written by Lee Winnell. That I know for sure. So let me just look that up real quick. I'm pretty sure because they did Saw and then they did Insidious. They did the first Conjuring movie together. Did James Wan direct the first Insidious? He did. Yeah, cool. So yeah, written by James. I'm sorry, directed by James Wan, written by Lee Winnell. They teamed up again after doing Saw, and it's kind of funny. The reason they did these movies and the Conjuring movies is because people were saying that the only reason Saw was successful was because of all the gore. So they wanted to make movies that weren't gory to prove that they could do movies like that without relying on that. So I just thought that was kind of funny. So yeah, this movie's really good at building up atmosphere. It's really good at tone. It's got jump scares, but it's not over relying on them. Some of them are predictable, some of them not so much. But I really like how this one sets everything up, and I like how the second one continues that because the first one ends on a cliffhanger. But my favorite Insidious movie is part three because this one is all about it's a different family, but it's all about the medium, Lin Shay. And in the movie, Elise, that's her name. That's right. I keep forgetting her name. She plays the median Elise, and it's all about kind of her origin story, like why she was involved with Specs and why she was involved with Tucker. The Specs was played by Lee Winnell, and Tucker was played by Angus Sampson. And those two characters are hilarious. So I like how those two were involved, and it shows kind of like how they met and how they started their little business and how like they met the family from the first two movies. The Lamberts, that's what it is. Yeah. So the reason I like this one is because this one touched me on a more personal level. At the time, I was experiencing a lot of death in my family, and like people that were close to me and my pets. Like a lot of people were dying around me, and it's all about how this girl is trying to talk to her mom, but she ends up inviting another spirit in called the Breathing Man. I think I don't know if he has an official name, but yeah, I'm just gonna call him the Breathing Man. And it's so good. This part three is the first one that Lee Winnell's wrecked it, and there's this one scene especially where she's lying down. This girl's like on the floor, and she's looking underneath the bed, but she can see feet from the other side, closing the curtains to make it darker inside the room. Oh, this is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen in like modern times. So yeah, I highly recommend Insidious 3. It's all my preference though. This is the prequel too. I don't normally like prequels, but the third one is so good. The main girl, played by Stephanie Scott, she plays Quinn. It's also got Dermot Mulroney. I just want to double check that. Yeah, this was the first one that was directed by Lee Winnell. So even here, you can see he puts a lot of style into his films, and there's a lot of things that he does in his other movies, like Invisible Man and The Wolf Man. They can see where he kind of started off doing here, some of those camera movements and the way he plays with the lighting and the way he plays with like the sound design and things like that. You can see how it all began here. There's a lot of precursors to where that all started. So yeah, I give the first two Insidious movies a large popcorn, but I give Insidious 3 an extra large popcorn. That's my favorite out of the five Insidious movies so far. So I think that covers just about everything on my list. It's been about an hour and a half. Oh, I missed one. Here we go. Okay, one more. I'll be very remiss if I talk about this because I really want to talk about this. It's called The Green Inferno. It's an Eli Roth movie, and this came out in 2015. This is a very underrated, lesser known Eli Roth movie that came out earlier on in his career, just after the Hostel movies. And it's all about this group of activists that go to the rainforest to try to stop it from being cut down. But some of them get lost and they get picked up by these tribal people. And they have find out that these people are cannibals, so they're stuck in the wilderness in the middle of nowhere, and they have to get out with their lives. It's a really cool, like survival horror movie, but this movie is gory. If you like Eli Roth movies, you will not be disappointed with the level of gore of this movie. It's so good. The practical effects, it's shocking. I couldn't believe like how gory it gets in this. And even the story, it's got a simple premise, but the characters, you really care about them because of how likable they are. They just wanted to, like, they didn't really know what they were getting into. Like, they kind of had an idea, but they were these dumb college kids. And they're like, yeah, let's go to South America. This is going to be so much fun. Like, totally. Like, you know what I mean? So they kind of have an idea, but they had no idea, like, what it's really like there. And I'm not saying it's like realistic or anything like that. I don't really know what it's like to be a cannibal in South America or anything like that. But it's a pretty scary situation. Like if you were lost in the wilderness in a remote place and you couldn't understand the language, then all of a sudden you get found by these cannibals. I wouldn't even know what I would do in that situation. So that alone is horrifying. And there's other things that they worry about too, like being exposed to that kind of environment, eating that kind of food, how that would affect your body. It's not just all about the gore and the slasher side of things. Like there's some body horror involved too, and I thought that was really nice touch. And the way that it ends too, it's a pretty satisfying ending. Again, this is all spoiler free. I won't say too much, but it just doesn't just have an abrupt ending, and it's not just a coincidental thing that the people happen to come across that helps them out. Like something happens and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, yeah, that's sort of understandable. That's sort of reasonable. There's that groundedness to it, that suspension of disbelief that never gets wrecked. So, yeah, I really recommend The Green Inferno. Love that movie. So, yeah, I think that covers just about everything. I hope you enjoyed this video about the best and worst horror movies from Blumhouse. And I hope you enjoyed my spoiler review of The Wolfman. So, I hope you have a good night. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. If anybody else has any comments or questions, I'll just wait a few minutes and then I'll sign off. I've been going for like an hour and a half. It's just after 11 p.m. here in Niagara Falls. I'm about ready to call it a night. Nothing from the audience? Okay. Good night, everybody. I'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. Goodbye.
I'll see you at the movies. Have a great day. Did you know that I'm a film critic for HorrorBuzz.com? You can read my reviews on their website, and I make frequent appearances on their YouTube channel, HorrorBuzz Live. So I'll leave links below for that too.
Okay, I'm back. I was told to wait a second. Not quite leaving yet. I'm still here. My sister asked me to wait. Are you still there? Because I'll stay on the stream if you have something else to say. I'll just give her a few more minutes. Are you still there? Interesting. Okay, well, my sister asked me to wait, but I'm not sure where she went. Good thing you caught me before I signed out. Did you have something to say? A question or a comment? I don't mind waiting a few more minutes. Are you still there? I don't see her in the comments. Okay, I tried. Good night, everybody. Sorry that I missed you, Beth. Text me after the show. We'll talk. Bye. I love you.